And she said, courage is also contagious. Bravery is also contagious. We want to shift a little bit now because our time is running close. And I want to introduce you to someone else, someone you may already know, someone you need to know if you don't know. And I want to do that within the context of Ola Lakeway. Ola Lakeway has been a pivotal voice in this community. One of the things that's going on with Ola Lakeway right now, even as we meet, is that they have an event this evening in which they are talking with parents and with students about registering for school. The bill that Pedro mentioned did not pass. It was tabled until next year. The bill to deny entrance into public school if you didn't have the proper documentation, and then the amendment that was added to that was, or unless you pay out-of-state tuition. And so one of the things that in anticipation, it's kind of a risk management sort of thing. In anticipation of what could happen next, Ola is right now attempting to purchase more space in the building that they're in to set up a school, to be prepared. And so people are finding ways to come together and to support one another. We want to hear from the next person that I would like to introduce, and that's Willie Santana. That's a name that's familiar to many of us. He was there at the beginning of the establishment of Ola. He was very much involved with the helping those who were caught up in the raid at the meat packing plant. He continues his work, and I've asked him to bring his skills as an attorney and to bring his commitment to raising people up and to encouraging people, basically saying, we can do this, we can do this, we can do this. We can work with people who disagree with us. We can do these things. And we can make our Constitution come alive to promote justice, to ensure domestic tranquility. But we got to do it together. Willie has a lot of credentials. But what he's going to do with us is reflect on some of the things that he has heard, bring some this sounds, really good. Be aware of this. Be aware of that. So, Willie.
Thank you. In my day job, I am a trial lawyer. That's what I do. I help people who have been accused of crimes. And I want to point out some things that have happened today that I think will help you help our community in a number of different ways. Mr. Brooks shared a very, very deep story. But do any of us remember the statistics about the VA or anything like that? The truth is, if we're being honest, we don't remember those numbers. We don't. Pedro just shared a bunch of different stuff. And what we remember most about those things is him sitting with those kids at the raid and the stories that he shared. And I started by telling you that I'm a trial lawyer and that's what I do for a living, and I tell you because stories matter. Human beings do not process numbers. We learned that it's something that we develop, but we learn through stories, right? That's why we have all those parables. That's why the Bible works, and the Quran, and the Torah works, because it's stories. So if you want to break through, if we want to break through about the plight of veterans, we tell their stories. The 2018 immigration raid is one of the inflection points of my adult life, bar none. At that time, I was a prosecutor. I got a call, it was a Thursday, and I couldn't respond right away. I mean, for those of you who don't understand the criminal justice system, a prosecutor is part of law enforcement. So these officers who went in ostensibly executing an IRS raid were part of a law enforcement operation. So I connected people that we needed to connect them. I went to my boss and said, hey, I gotta do something. I'm gonna stay behind the scenes, but I'm taking 2 days off. And I finished what I had to do that Thursday. I drove all the way out to Russellville. We got a bunch of pizzas and all the stuff like that. In the next 4 days of my life, I think I got 6 hours of sleep. Those lawyers who were there helping with this power of attorney, I got them there. Okay. Those mayors that showed up, and those council members that showed up, I got them there. And which leads me to the next lesson that I want you to learn from our experience at OLA, and from my experience founding it and kind of leading it initially. So you do have to engage with those people that you think disagree with. You have to.
Exclusively.
You have to engage with them. And you have to engage with them. You have to give them the opportunity to. The quote is, diplomacy is the art of giving somebody a ladder to walk off a ledge. You can't only attack. And you can't start out by attack. You know, one of the things that we were very successful at OLAF, our first project was that we got Morristown Utilities policies changed. So they no longer require a social security number, and people, for whatever reason, didn't have to do that. It is true that the fact that I had 2 initials after my name probably got the letter a little bit more attention than it would have gotten otherwise. And I tell that to law students all the time. But we didn't say, you have a discriminatory policy, you're discriminating against these people. What I wrote say, this policy is resulting in discrimination, and we want to help you change it. And when we had that meeting with the Morristown Utilities people, with their lawyer, somebody who I knew, we started with, listen, I'm not fishing for a lawsuit. We don't believe, whether we believe it or not, it doesn't matter, that you set out this policy to discriminate. We gave them that ladder and walk off the ledge. If we had gone in and saying, you're discriminating, you're awful, this policy's awful, people would have gotten into their corners. And that's how we've been able to build OLA over the past 10 years with the connections that we have. Sometimes we disagree with those leaders. Sometimes we disagree with the school board. Sometimes we disagree with the mayors or whatnot. But we have built that credibility with them because we have always collaborated where collaboration was possible. To this point, I haven't told you that I am a center-right guy. I am. My definition of conservatism is that change is important, but it has to be the product of consensus, and it has to be slow for it to be permanent. I believe that. And for the longest time, that meant that I'm a conservative, and I still consider myself a conservative. And I'm here with you today. Okay? You cannot speak to those people who do not understand why they voted for Trump, if all you're doing is attacking them. Some people have some damn good reasons why they did that. What are they? Ask them. Understand those reasons. Because if the rape taught us anything, is that when their people are attacked, when it is not these immigrants, this phantom immigrant word, when it is their kid's friend, their neighbor, the guy who works in the line in the factory next to them, then it matters. Which goes back to my initial point of the stories. It's easy to be afraid of a nameless enemy. It's easy to be a con. But it was much harder to look at that guy, that young man in the eyes. If you want to get through it, you can't do the same thing. And you're never going to be able to do that effectively. What we do as Ola is build community. We are sometimes criticized because we don't take an active enough role protesting and all that kind of stuff. And we don't. And we don't by design. Because this is a tight-knit rural, urban, ex-urban and rural community. And that wouldn't work here, number one. Number two is if we look at change movements in history. Let's start with the Revolution, for instance. Yes, it took Sam Adams and the Sons of Liberty to toss all that tea off the boat, right? But it also took John Adams defending those soldiers after the Boston Massacre to teach them what trials are like. It also took Benjamin Franklin engaging in diplomacy in France. It took both the Sam Adams and John Adams of the world to make that change happen. In the civil rights movement, it took the John Stewart, it took the MLKs and the John Lewis, that's the name I was looking for, protesting and sitting in kitchen counters and all the stuff like that. But it also took Thurgood Marshall to show up in court and make those arguments, and work within the system. It takes both. I tell people when they ask me, I'm not the marching type, but I'm here for the ones who are. Because it takes both sides. And you need to have what those strengths are. At Ola, we're focused on fixing problems. Veterans go to law school. People go to law school, they think they go to law school to learn the law. The law's going to change by the time you get out. You learn to solve problems. And that's really what we do at Ola. We look to solve problems. When kids were having trouble getting registered, we work with the school system. And Ola is now the designated welcome center for immigrants, so that's where they go. We have a seat at the table. A good friend of mine, whose politics I normally don't agree with, she's a union organizer in California, told me to say, you know, it's a good thing that you're at the table, because if not, you would be on the table. And I had never heard that expression before, but it makes sense. It does show some of the value of what we've been able to do. I mean, I remember when we had our first food festival, we couldn't pay Becky and the Rose Center up front. They were kind enough to let us use the Rose Center and pay them in the back end. But now, some 11 years later, I mean, thousands of people come from all over the area to come to that food festival. We solve little problems little by little. So I'm here to tell you that it is not hopeless. I'm here to tell you that our system has held and will hold. It is brilliantly designed and well executed. It is never perfect. Nothing that's made by people is perfect, because we are not perfect. But we can get there. The system can come closer. But you can do things to help. Ola Lakeway is one of my prides and joy. I'm one of its founders. It will always be a part of my legacy, and I'll continue to support it so long as I draw breath. But there's other causes out there where people can engage, can work towards solving problems. And if any lessons that I can give you is this: being on the attack mode can be fun. Listen, I'm a trial lawyer. I love cross-examining a witness. But it's not necessarily the most effective way of changing minds. And if we are trying to change some things, there are some things that need to be changed, trust me. Being on attack mode all the time is not effective. It's not helpful. It's biting into the trap. So what I'm going to ask because I don't have a lot of time and I didn't have much of an agenda plan, is that you consider talking to those people where you don't believe, don't understand why they vote the way they do, and listen. Just ask, why? You may be surprised that there could be a rational and legitimate reason, but maybe just one out of 10. But if you can understand that one rational reason, then you can find some common ground to discuss. Never go into those conversations trying to change minds. It's not, if you do, you're going to fail. Go into those conversations to discuss. Because once they see you as a person rather than an opponent, and you see them as a person rather than an opponent, then you'll be surprised what people will do for you. You'll be surprised why the mayor showed up at that raid when it was a politically sensitive time for them. It was an election year, 2018 was, and they took a risk. And some of those guys have backed out from that, but I still give them a little credit for having done it. And they did it because they knew me, as a person, as a dude, and because I asked them. Because every time they've asked me to do something, I would have done it. So building those relationships is how you make change happen. It's not flashy, it's not always fun, but it's effective. And some things need to change. If you're willing to do that, I think